It was supposed to be just another home renovation. In the small Andalusian village of Cútar, Spain, construction workers chipping away at an old wall discovered a hidden compartment. Inside, wrapped delicately in aged cloth and buried in dust, was something extraordinary: an ancient Quran manuscript over 5 centuries old, 2 other manuscripts, and a long-forgotten piece of history tied to one of the most turbulent periods in Spain's past, the end of the Islamic rule and the Catholic Reconquista. Scholars quickly confirmed what stunned the world. Not only was the manuscript authentic, but it was completely identical to the Quran today. But how did the manuscripts get there? To understand how this sacred manuscript ended up hidden in a wall, we must go back to a golden age in Spanish history, when Muslim rule transformed the Iberian Peninsula into one of the most advanced civilizations of the time. The rise of Al-Andalus. In 711 CE, Muslim forces led by the Berber general Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and swiftly took control of much of the Iberian Peninsula. The result was the formation of Al-Andalus, a flourishing Muslim-ruled region that stood for nearly 8 centuries. The Muslim rulers of Spain, particularly under the Umayyad Caliphate and later the Almohad dynasty, had turned Spain into one of the most advanced and prosperous nations in Europe. Muslim Spain became a center of learning, science, art, and culture. Under Islamic governance, Spain saw the rise of glittering cities like Córdoba, Granada, and Seville. Muslims brought advanced agricultural systems, introduced science, philosophy, mathematics, and medicine to Europe. Libraries held hundreds of thousands of books. Muslim physicians conducted surgeries using tools that would later influence European medicine. Religious tolerance defined much of this era. Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived together in relative harmony. The concept of coexistence allowed intellectual and cultural growth unparalleled in Europe at the time. The streets of Córdoba were lit by lamps, while the rest of Europe sat in darkness, where the Dark Ages were still underway. Muslim Spain also made great strides in architecture and urban planning. The Alhambra in Granada and the Great Mosque of Córdoba are among the most famous examples of the stunning architectural achievements of the Muslim civilization in Spain. However, this period of prosperity and tolerance would not last forever. In the late 15th century, the political landscape of Spain had dramatically shifted. After centuries of Muslim rule, the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella launched the final campaign to reclaim Spain. This period, known as the Catholic Reconquista, culminated in the fall of Granada in 1492, marking the end of the Islamic rule in Spain. At first, Muslims were promised religious freedom, but that promise was soon broken. The Spanish Inquisition outlawed Islam, banned Arabic, and destroyed thousands of Islamic texts. Mosques were turned into churches. Public Islamic worship was punishable by death. The fall of Granada marked the end of the era for Muslims. The Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella intent on unifying Spain under Christian rule. The Reconquista left the Muslims who had lived in Spain with 2 stark choices: either convert to Christianity or face exile. It was an era of persecution, fear, and forced assimilation. And in this perilous time, Muhammad Al-Ŷayyār emerged not as a warrior, but as a silent protector of Islamic knowledge. Muhammad Al-Ŷayyār was a learned scholar and jurist well-versed in Islamic law and tradition. As an imam and al-faqih, he was deeply involved in the religious and legal matters of his community. Realizing the Quran was being systematically erased from public life, Al-Ŷayyār made a decision that would secure his place in history. Risking imprisonment or execution, he meticulously wrapped a hand-copied Quran manuscript, possibly passed down from earlier generations, and concealed it within the walls of his modest Andalusian home. But Al-Ŷayyār didn't just hide the book. He educated children in secret, taught Arabic in whispers, and served as a quiet leader for Muslims forced to abandon their identity. His home became a secret center of learning. While Christian authorities destroyed what they could see, Al-Ŷayyār worked in the shadows to protect what they couldn't reach. The manuscripts of Al-Ŷayyār left behind not only contained religious texts, but also accounts of contemporary events such as the fall of Granada and the Malaga earthquake of 1494. These writings provide valuable insights into the experiences of Muslims during a time of immense upheaval and persecution. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Qoutar manuscripts is the Quran itself. The manuscript, dated back to Al-Muhammad period, 12th or 13th century, is one of the oldest surviving Qur'ans in Spain. Its square shape and intricate calligraphy reflect the skill and artistry of Islamic scribes of the time. Unlike many other manuscripts from the period which were destroyed or lost, this Qur'an remained hidden for over 5 centuries, untouched by the political and religious upheavals that defined the history of Spain. When the books were rediscovered in 2003, they were carefully restored and are now kept at the Archivo Histórico Provincial de Málaga. When the manuscript was uncovered 5 centuries later, scholars expected to find inconsistencies, perhaps proof of alteration or degradation. Instead, what they discovered was profound. The Quran had not changed. Every verse, every word, every letter matched the Quran known today. In a world where historical texts are often revised or reinterpreted, the Quran stood as a singular example of perfect preservation. Because the Quran is not a book of history, it's the revelation from the one true God. While Muslim Spain is remembered for its libraries, hospitals, irrigation systems, and cultural integrations, the Christian rule that followed is often marked by censorship, forced conversions, and intellectual decline. The Renaissance, ironically, benefited from the very knowledge suppressed in Al-Andalus, knowledge that Europe would later rediscover through translated Islamic texts. In the end, this manuscript, hidden behind a wall, revealed a truth no tyranny could erase. For centuries, it waited, silent and sacred, until the day it would speak again. Thanks to Muhammad Al-Ŷayyār's faith and foresight, it now does.